Wall Street veteran Bernard Madoff has been arrested and charged with running a $50 billion Ponzi scheme.
Congress wants to know what caused the Enron meltdown.
Now, while the collective rage currently is focused on WorldCom,
Tyco CEO Dennis Kozlowski was convicted of looting hundreds of millions of dollars.
This is one of the biggest fraud cases ever.
Their president's a crook. Well, I'm not a crook.
Find out more on this week's episode of White Collars, Red Hands.
Thinking of drug kingpins usually conjures the image of a bloodthirsty maniac who rules a city's underground with an iron fist while dispatching his many henchmen to sow discord and cocaine throughout an elaborate pipeline to junkies and alleyways. Indeed, this image of a drug ring is sometimes close to the truth, like with cartel heads such as El Chapo. Sometimes a more organized idea comes to mind, like the mafia pushing drugs in a deliberate chain of command from the head of the crime family down to the soldiers on the ground. It might even conjure up ideas of trailer park chemists or high school teachers with cancer in New Mexico. The first thought does not usually stray to college campuses, although anyone who has spent significant time on one knows that there are definitely drugs and plenty of alcohol use, but mostly people get their weed from Kevin on the second floor of their dorm, not from an organized crime syndicate of pill pushers. Unless, of course, you attended the College of Charleston in the mid-2010s, where just such an organization was ran, the story of which is dotted with drugs of all kinds, the cartel, racist rituals, and even death. So let's dive into the Frat House Crack House on the C of C campus on this week's episode of White Collars, Red Hands.
The Frat House Crack House, that's what they called my butt in college.
Yeah?
Because I loved the frat boys.
Yeah, when you were like tree number 3 in the Wizard of Oz production at the fucking University of, what was it, Kentucky?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. And I killed that tree, all right? I was a great tree.
I bet.
I was the best tree you had ever seen.
I bet. You're talking about frat boys. That was the only thing you gave wood. Was that tree. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of White Collars, Red Hands, everybody. I'm Kashan.
And I'm Nina.
And today we're going to be talking about a drug ring that was ran by a group of privileged white college students, all under the age of 27, on the College of Charleston campus in South Carolina.
Well, if they're in undergrad, I would hope they're under 27.
Yeah, I think some of them were graduated, not graduated, had gone but not finished, or finished and were still there. And they just figured they found their calling.
They were lurking?
Selling drugs. Why'd you say that like you were Irish? They were lurking.
They were lurking?
They were lurking.
Peddling these drugs?
Yeah, you know what? Honestly, you got that one okay.
Hey! The first time I did a good accent.
I heard you do a lot of really bad accents on this show.
This one was good. It's because I've been watching Baby Reindeer.
Ah, there we go. There we go. You know, you remind me of Martha.
Aw.
Anyway,
It's the hair.
Firstly, I would like to acknowledge that a surprising amount of this case is not freely available on the internet, or at least it wouldn't be without the release of a book last year that covers the story titled Among the Bros by Max Marshall. It got a big PR push. So this whole crime happened in 2016, and then there were some original news releases, and then kind of not a lot after that. Until this book was released in November of last year, and there was this big like PR tour that the author took. So because of that, a lot of the content of today's episode is taken from Max's words, the author directly, although not from the book. I didn't read the book. I'm going to be frank about that, but from news pieces with Max as the primary source. So a lot of more newer articles that mostly use the book in his word. Additionally, this episode would not be possible without our dedicated listener, Katie.
Yeah, Katie!
Who also brought us Bob Dean, our Bob Dean episode, which was a terrifying tale to have to tell. Please go listen to it. He is still getting hit with more and more charges related to his moving of all those people in the nursing home to
that guy.
a warehouse.
Yeah, that was bad. That one was bad.
It was
that one was really bad.
So a heartfelt thank you to Katie for being a longtime listener and for being a multiple time listener submitter. So
we appreciate you.
So we start our story with a kid named Mikey Schmidt, who might have been better suited as Mikey Mouse, because until he was almost 18, he was about 5'0" high, and still had a very prepubescent voice. I guess talking to people that knew him in high school, they always were like, he had this hilarious voice, and all of them tried to do a rendition of it. At 18, however, manhood hit Mikey like a ton of bricks as he grew to a staggering 5'7".
We love a short king.
That is 7 inches from where he started.
That's a lot in a year.
Yeah, 7 inches. 7 inches is a lot. Got it.
It can be.
I just want to know.
Depending on who it's on.
Yeah, 1 year. So he was basically like child, and then just man.
Yeah.
Well, not Superman. You look at not Superman. If you look at pictures of him, he definitely still looks like, even though he's 23 when they finally get arrested, I think, somewhere around there, he still looks like he's like 15.
Little baby face.
Yes.
Yeah.
He definitely looks like a high schooler. Now, I don't know. I'm getting to that age where people under 25 kind of all start looking young to me.
Yeah.
You know?
They do.
So, I don't know. I'm not a good judge anymore, but I think he still looks pretty young. And one can only think that weird smells and hair everywhere followed shortly afterwards. So he was nice and probably acne-filled as he got to the College of Charleston. Despite his small stature, Mikey was well-loved by classmates and family members, largely because he had to learn social intelligence to be able to get ahead of bullying. Mikey was from a modest family background. He was raised by a single mother for most of his life, with a stepdad entering the picture later, who I think the stepdad owned some sort of business, so kind of, not something big, but something smaller. There was still some money in the family. His grandfather had a long career at IBM, which meant there was, some safety net for him. I don't know if you know, there's like a whole group of people that were like the original like IBM workers when computers were getting big in like the 70s and 80s. And they got good money. IBM took care of them.
That's good. That's good to hear. You normally don't hear of stuff like that, so
not
it's
anymore.
Nice to hear that a company took care of its employees.
Yeah, I don't know how IBM is now, but from then, I guess they were okay. He also might have been well liked by his classmates because Mikey was a guy who could get you things, like in prison if you were looking for cigarettes or Pop-Tarts.
Or deodorant.
Stuff prisoners like.
Or shanks.
Yeah, all those. All the above.
Cocaine.
Yep.
Condoms.
Mate.
Soap.
No. He was chill. He liked smoking pot and had some connections that could hook you up with a fake ID. Truly entrepreneurial at a young age, he even supposedly had shown a younger kid $10,000 in cash that he had amassed from dealing pot at one point.
Wow.
If I had $10,000 in high school...
Oh, I would have been a menace. Actually, no. Actually, I was more responsible in high school and college than I am now.
You think so?
In some ways, yeah.
You should change.
I know. Yeah, I should change.
Yeah, I mean, you don't even have $10,000 now. This kid had $10,000 in high school, and he's flashing it around because he was dealing pot.
Yeah.
Honestly, they're just showing him that the system works. He's like, well, if this is how I get my money, then I guess that's how I'm going to do it. In order to foster the business mindset, Mikey decided to attend college after graduating from Mount Vernon High School in 2013, which is in Georgia. And where better to choose than the College of Charleston? The campus has been voted the most beautiful in America many times, lush with greenery and full of tradition, as it is the oldest municipal school in America.
Oh, and that's interesting.
It was so beautiful that the movie White People Kissing in the Rain, also known as The Notebook.
I was like, what are you talking about?
It's The Notebook, of course.
Yeah, they are white people kissing in the rain.
It was filmed there. Of course, because it is so beautiful, the College of Charleston, it has also been extremely classist for most of its existence. Kind of like all colleges were, especially old colleges. It attracts a lot of old money kids that are coming to campus only to party, like uber wealthy kids with black cards flying in private jets, largely from the New England area that would come from out of state to go to the College of Charleston. And then these students would be mixed with and clash with the poorer in-state students. And they make a big part of this, like the author makes a big part of this, but I would kind of argue that is just something that is true for every college campus.
I would say that this is true for most college campuses. The only exception would maybe be a community college. Well, it would be a community college.
Because they're all from... No one's flying from out of state to go to a community college.
Right. If you're from Chicago, like no one is flying from out of state to what's that one college here?
We have a bunch, so I have no idea.
Dang it. No, well, never mind. But if you're in Ohio, no one's flying to go to Stark State.
Yeah, no, I don't even know what that is.
Right. It's just a small community college in Ohio.
Yeah, but this kind of mixing of the classes is just, it costs so much to go to college that it's going to happen, right? My roommate freshman year was a guy named Max, whose dad was an executive for an energy company in California. And,
wow.
And all Max did when Max was in, bless his heart, he was mildly lovable, but he was an idiot. And all he did was drugs, drink, fight people outside of our dorm room, and not go to class. While I, on the other hand, diligently had to hit the books because my money, not daddy's, was paying for the luxury of my education experience.
Well, yeah, I had a similar experience, especially when I had transferred schools. Because when I originally started going to Kent State, go Flashes.
The Flashes? What are you? Like, it's a
the Lightning Bowl.
School?
It's a Lightning Bowl.
That's stupid.
I didn't come up with it. Yeah, I didn't come up with it. We were well known as Kent Reed, Kent Wright, Kent State. Anyways, at Kent State, I would say that most people came from like a middle class background. But then when I transferred schools and went to Belmont University, that was when I had like a very rude awakening and was when I first was introduced to like rich people. And it was very much like this and very much like your experience with Max. Like celebrities' children went there. I was in a theater program with Johnny Cash's grandson. And like one of my really good friends, her mom owned one of the top event planning businesses in the country. So it was definitely a clash of the classes.
Yeah, where if you never get out of your tiny ass Ohio town, you never meet those people. Like the people that own the local like grocery store, or like the richest people in your town.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, it's definitely different. But I guess they made a point that it was even more.
I definitely
think College of Charleston.
I definitely think, depending on what college you go to, this is more apparent.
Yeah.
But I would also argue that this is every college.
Yeah. Although there was this mixing of classes on the College of Charleston campus, there was another option to separate them once more, just a little sneakier than it used to be. And that is a fraternity. Fraternities were invented primarily for this purpose. Steeped in weird occult practices, these rich boy clubs were and even are like a secret society akin to the Freemasons. Like that's what they set themselves out to be. They live in exclusive Greek life communes, often outside of campus, like a circle within a circle, And frats used to even be seen as only populated by like stuffed shirts. Up until the 1960s, 1970s. And they were primarily made because if you were rich and high class, you could go to college. That's all that was there. And then when like farm boys started showing up to college, they were like, well, we don't want to hang out with these people.
Yeah.
Let's create an exclusive society where only we can hang out. And that was a fraternity. Mm-hmm. And we get to choose who gets in and who doesn't. And they got a lot of pushback from the counterculture in the 1970s, hippie culture, as being like, oh, this is like old money, like hoity-toity people. And that was until 1978 when a movie, Animal House, was released, which is incredibly problematic when viewed today. Have you seen Animal House, Nina?
No.
Well, it's about this, like, it's got Jim Belushi, this wild fraternity that gets into some trouble, is about to get kicked off campus, and they have to, like, fight to remain. And this movie changed how people saw frats and changed how they saw themselves. Instead of like just stuffed shirt rich people, they were like party symbols, also like fighting the man. So it was a way for them to stay, you know, how everything does, a way to stay in the public opinion. Despite that, there is a correlation with frats and powerful. We're only talking about men here. We're not talking about sorority, Greek life, but there is a correlation with frats and powerful men throughout history. Although only 2% of Americans have been part of a frat.
I am surprised it's that low.
Yeah, 2%. Well, you got to think how many go to college.
I know, but still, I just feel like I know a lot of people who were in well, I guess this isn't fraternities and sororities. This is just fraternities.
Yeah, just fraternities.
Okay.
2% of Americans have been part of a frat. 80% of Fortune 500 execs, 76% of U.S. senators and congressmen, 85% of Supreme Court justices, and all but 2 presidents have been members of frats at some point.
Wait, only 2?
All but 2. So 2 have not of all of our.
But even like George Washington was?
This is from a Cornell Greek Life website.
Okay.
So take those statistics
Did
with a
they say
grain
who?
of salt.
Did they say which presidents weren't?
No. This was, so once again, when I say take this with a grain of salt, this is a quote that I got quoted from somewhere else.
That's
so
fine.
I did
That's
not
fine.
read this article.
That's fine. That's fine.
That's why when Mikey Schultz arrived on campus, his first day, he hit up the Student Activities Information Fair to find a frat to join. There were plenty to choose from, with the 2 best known unanimously to be Sigma Alpha Epsilon, the SAEs, and the Pi Kappa Alpha, or Pikes. Mikey didn't like these frats, though. They were known to recruit the more northern boys from the New England border, that kind of richer class of people, and he was more of a good old boy, proud to be hailing from the deep south state of Georgia. Mike found his new home in the Kappa Alphas, a frat that most people on campus regarded as decidedly mid. Their words, not mine. But the demeanor of President Rob Liljeburg at the recruiting table at the fair, Liljeburg, they like perfectly jive together. Liljeburg was eating a foot-long sub and then asked Mikey if he wanted to pop over to his house to hit his bong. So the Kappa Alpha, their chapter GPA was right towards the national minimum for fraternities, which is 2.8.
That's pretty low.
So there was kind of no pressure for Mikey to perform. And the Kappas, well, they liked Mikey too, for the same reason that people liked him in high school. He dealt weed and fake IDs.
Hey, that's a hot commodity.
It still plays in college when you're in a fraternity, right? The Kappa Alphas are also a very, let's just say, traditionally Southern fraternity, if you get my drift. The order was founded in 1865, kind of right after
the Civil War.
We were having some issues, and the founders remarked on Robert E. Lee, the Confederate general, and his gentlemanly conduct as an inspiration.
Okay.
And although he was informally tied to the group for many years, they made it pretty formal when he was designated their spiritual founder in 1923.
What? That's so long after everything.
Yeah. He was only associated with the group and their beliefs for like 70 years. And then they were like, let's make this a fish.
This isn't a good look.
So, and they, as far as I could tell, they haven't really like gotten rid of it too much.
Problematic.
Yeah. Founders also reference them being in equal standing and in the same mission as the KKK, but like the academic side of their mission.
Huh? What's the academic side of the KKK?
Well, they were like the academics who were like arguing the principalities behind what I can only believe is racism, and the KKK was like the like violence arm of that movement. I like a very gross bastardization would be something like how people see the civil rights movement with like Martin Luther King and the Black Panthers. This is their like weird fucked up racist version of that, where they're like, well, we're the intellectual non-violent form of racism, while the KKK is the violent one. I don't know. It doesn't make sense. This is not it's stupid.
A good look.
No, and
this is bad.
The Kappa Alphas also, until relatively recently, held an Old South dance. Where men would dress in Confederate gray Civil War outfits and women would wear plantation garb. So not great.
Please. If you take nothing away from this podcast, if your college is still doing this, don't go.
The chapter finally got rid of it. Like, well, this is the fraternity, but the fraternity finally got rid of that. Like, I shit you not, like a few years ago.
So there is a girl who was on The Bachelor. Got engaged to the first black bachelor, and then it came out that she was at an Old South fraternity and sorority dance, and the pictures leaked. It was bad.
Yeah, I guess this was a thing. I wouldn't be surprised if a couple of them were probably still doing it, just more informally.
Yeah.
In secret. So
and like, I'm sorry, this is just like me being naive, but when I first heard about it, I'm like, what would this even look like? Like, huh? And then I saw the pictures and I was like, oh, this is not good. Poor taste.
Yeah, Confederate grays, dude, for like a long time.
You can do a theme of anything.
I mean, I guess this is like multiple people in my high school definitely had Confederate flags in the back of their trucks.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So I guess it's not like a big leap to think that people are doing shit like this, but
it's not. But like, come on, you guys.
But
stop.
So Mikey hit it off with them, right? And the frat became all encompassing for Mikey. He stopped going to class in favor of smoking weed and playing video games with Liljeburg. And by the end of his freshman year, he was back home with his parents in Atlanta, a college failure, but soon to be a failure in life completely.
I know what that's like.
Not in the same way.
No, not in the same way. I'm so much lamer.
So Mikey gets kicked out of college, and he gets a job at a popular club in Atlanta called the Tongue and Groove, and he was working as a valet there.
Oh.
And he became known and well-liked by high-roller customers that would come through because he would sneak a dime bag of some of his highest grade kush into the cup holder for those who asked for it. Be like, I'll hook you up. And then they'd come back to their car and there'd be some weed in their cup holder. And in return, they started to ask for him to be the one to park their car. When they show up, they'd be like, yo, give me that Mikey kid. I want him to park my car. And they would obviously probably tip him handsomely for that as well. He even started hanging around with some of the famous rappers in the Atlanta scene. There's a lot of, there's a big rap scene in Atlanta. Yeah. I guess he started going to this studio with members of the 808 Mafia, and getting invited to backstage for concerts and stuff.
Ooh, fun.
Which is just crazy.
Yeah, little Mikey.
Because he looks like he's 15, but he deals weed, I guess. So they're like, yeah, this fucking valet can come hang out with us backstage. And gradually, Mikey moved on from just pushing weed to harder stuff, making connections to the cartel.
Oh, Mikey.
In Atlanta, where he started buying from them, purchasing copious amounts of cocaine from a man only known as Uncle. Never losing connection with his Kappa Alpha brothers, though, he would then bring this cocaine back to the CFC campus and distribute it to the fraternity and also to other campuses throughout the South.
I mean, I bet he was making so much money because if rich people love nothing more, it is cocaine.
Dude, you'll find out actually how much money they were making. It's a decent amount. Then he would take a tour, like I said, other college campuses in the South, hit up the University of Southern Carolina, hit up Ole Miss, hit up the University of Georgia, and just kind of like sell around college campuses. In return, the Kappa Alphas would provide Mikey with copious amounts of Xanax to take back with him to Atlanta and to deal across all of those campuses as well. Now, for those who aren't familiar with Xanax, it's a prescription medication and a Category 4 controlled substance, which is one that carries the lightest penalties. There's 4 categories. That's the lowest. Marijuana, by the way, still a Class 1 substance.
What?
Above cocaine, which is a Class 2, if I remember correctly. Might even be a Class 3. I know marijuana's first. So, hey, write your congressperson, please.
That doesn't make any sense.
No, well, they created it like
on purpose.
Like 100 years ago. And yes, it was associated with lower classes and other races. So, yes. Xanax, though, is the brand name for the benzodiazepine alprazolam, which is prescribed for panic attacks and generalized anxiety disorder and has been shown to be habit-forming and addictive with long-term use, like a lot of these are. It is actually the most prescribed psychiatric medication in America, which means it is usually freely available to abusers that don't have a prescription. And AddictionCenter.com quotes that 70% of teens with an addiction to Xanax get it from a household source. They get it from the medicine cabinet in their house. They don't have to go out and buy it illegally. The largest dose of 2 milligrams comes in these white or yellow bars. So you might have heard the term a Xanny bar before. That's a 2 mg pill. All the other pills come in smaller oval sizes. And it is a powerful central nervous system depressant, like alcohol. And it has a lot of similar effects to alcohol. It can cause a feeling of calm while simultaneously also piquing anxiety for people. And it kind of just makes you feel, you might have slurred speech, senses of euphoria. And it has become one of the largest party drugs of the modern age, often used in conjunction with other drugs and alcohol. They mentioned it a lot as a hangover cure. I've
never heard of anybody taking Xanax to cure a hangover. Huh.
I don't know.
Interesting.
But that's what they did. Also, terrible, like very interesting name for something absolutely fucking awful that I heard learning this is something called a QB sneak. So a QB can refer to as a quarter bar of Xanax. They call them QBs. You take just a quarter bar a little bit. And then a QB sneak is where you sneak a quarter bar into someone's drink to drug them.
Yep.
And I was like, if only whoever came up with that name used their creative talents on something else.
Yeah.
Because QB sneak is funny. Date rape is not funny.
No, it's
at
pretty
all.
lame, actually.
Pretty lame.
Yeah. You can do a lot of other things.
Anything else.
Not date rape people.
But because it's a strong central nervous system depressant, used in conjunction with alcohol, it can increase the toxicity of both of those immensely. It can cause a lot of issues and potential death.
Just don't mix drugs and alcohol, please. God.
Yeah, especially if they're both central nervous system depressants because they stack on top of each other.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, this was like to get people to like calm down. Like if you had like taken too much cocaine and you're like buzzing and you're like, okay, I need to like mellow out. Let's take a
This
Xanny
stresses
bar.
me out.
And then
I am so not a drug user, and when I hear this stresses me out so bad.
And then they start drinking and they start getting a little bit low. So now it's back to another bump of cocaine. Yeah, and then like, oh, we need some weed to mellow out like the anxiety.
I have such a sensitive system. I don't even know what would happen to me if I did all that.
Just explode. Yeah, but this is what
You'd have to take me to the hospital. I would be unwell.
That's what these guys are doing like 7 days a week.
Well, you know that people don't start out doing all that.
No,
you build up to that.
you build up, but like this is what they're doing, and they're supposed to be like college students.
That's insane.
They're for other reasons. So, all right, drug PSA over. Basically, all of this means that it was in high demand across college campuses. And the Kappa Alphas with Mikey Schmidt as a drug dealing role model thought that this was a perfect business opportunity.
I mean, it was.
Well, they didn't make a lot of money until they stopped making a lot of money. They formed a well-organized machine to both manufacture and distribute the drug. They would buy Xanax powder for cheap on the dark web from China and have it shipped to a connection in Canada. The Canuck would then package the powder into printer ink cartridges.
That's pretty creative.
It gets more creative and ship them to beach houses that the Kappa Alphas would rent in Charleston. There, they bought pill presses where they would get their pledges and members of the fraternity to dress in bunny suits, the hazmat manufacturing kind, not the Easter kind.
Oh, I totally thought they were dressed like Easter bunnies.
No, like when you, like the suit that like you think Walter White's wearing, and it's got the mask, that's a bunny suit.
What the heck? They're having all their little minions do this?
They got their pledges to do this.
Oh my God, that's bad.
And they would be pressing this powder into pills.
And I'm sorry, I don't feel like we can trust this powder.
Oh, no. Are you fucking... It's bought on the dark web from China.
No.
I can't even trust anything I get from Wish. Do you think I'm going to buy Xanax powder from China? No.
Oh, my God. Shein Xanax?
Yes.
Timu Xanax?
Yeah, this is a Timu Xanny bar, actually.
Oh, my God.
So they press the powder into pills and then heat seal these pills into Skittles bags that they could then give to members to sell and bring in money for the drug ring.
I just am not this creative.
Dude, they straight up, like this was a very well thought out plan.
I will give them that. I would never... You know how disappointed I would be to open a bag of Skittles and find Xanax in it? Candy is my drug.
Yeah, I'd be like, oh, what are these? Mini Fun Dip bars? That's cool.
Dude.
No.
If they just sealed the powder in a Fun Dip package, I'm screwed. I'm eating the whole thing.
I don't know why I feel this Fun Dip.
I'm like bugging. I'm like digging holes in my skin.
This Fun Dip's crazy. Did you know that Fun Dip makes you feel like you have bees in your skin? That's wild, man.
I'm like, you got more of that Fun Dip?
What are these kids eating nowadays?
Pixie sticks, just like...
Just like what? Okay, chill.
Oh, actually, I should not have done that.
No, we'll clip that. We'll clip that for you guys. Don't worry.
God damn it.
This is a very well thought out plan, and members of the ring, which was largely composed of rich white kids who regarded drug dealing as a good setup for business, they talked about how it taught them delegation, supply chain, people management, and like that's this whole thing is like, yeah, I was just getting a lot of good business experience.
It was their internship.
Yeah, selling drugs. And they at least temporarily reaped the rewards. By 2016, Mikey was rotating between a Porsche, a BMW, and an Infiniti.
Oh my God! Dead giveaway, bro. You're a valet.
Although he supposedly did all of his dealing out of a Prius with a baby on board sticker on the back to avoid suspicion.
Where's he parking all these cars?
I don't fucking know.
His mom and dad didn't get suspicious.
Suspicious?
If I came home in a BMW, my parents would be like, "You're an escort."
He probably just said he was flipping things online.
I guess probably.
He's like, oh, I'm selling things on an Amazon shop.
Oh, I got eBay. I'm doing an eBay store.
Yeah, exactly.
My Etsy store is out of control. Oh my God, he's selling Skittles purses, and they are filled with drugs.
See?
On Etsy.
You already came up with a good excuse.
Holy shit.
So what was going to happen next, however, would bring more suspicion to the group that could not be mitigated by any amount of clever bumper stickers. Patrick Moffley was a burnout, but a fun one to be around. His dad was a wealthy real estate developer, and his mother, who ran a horse farm, had once been on the ballot for Congress.
Like Rita Cromwell.
Patrick wanted to be a party animal, however, skipping out on classes to get fucked up with his friends. He wanted to be the center of attention, becoming a prankster, and even eventually got kicked out of one of his schools for creating a fake MySpace account. This is dating when this is happening. A fake MySpace account impersonating a teacher and then implicating him as a Nazi. So
that's pretty bad.
What a prankster. Then he found himself, now an adult at the College of Charleston, packaging homemade Xanax pills into candy wrappers, and he made a few final and big mistakes. The first of which was getting arrested at a South Carolina Gamecocks football game with a large enough amount of cocaine to get hit with a trafficking charge.
Shit.
He was released on bail and returned home to his parents' house. And the people who ran the Charleston drug ring started getting worried that Moffley was going to flip on them to receive a lighter sentence. This is like the first one of them to get lighter.
Then he's not a real drug dealer.
Yeah, you didn't scare him enough, is what that means.
Yeah, for real.
And they figured, well, our empire could be crumbling down relatively soon. We could all be going to prison. Moffley showed back up to campus to receive his backpack from his room, and unfortunately would not live to see the end of the week.
Oh my God.
The next day, Moffley was found shot, clutching a Chipotle napkin to his wound in his chest.
Do you think he got quack?
Oh my fucking God. Probably. He could afford it.
Yeah.
Surrounded by hundreds of fake Xanax pills. It seems a deal had gone wrong in his house. There was a scuffle, a gunshot, and when his roommates found him, instead of calling the police or helping him, they frantically started rushing to flush drugs that they had stashed around the place down the toilet instead. The only one who helped was a potential buyer who happened to be there at the time and tried to apply pressure to the wound. The police finally arrived, and Moffley told them that he was robbed before slipping into unconsciousness and later passing away at the hospital.
Damn.
Without ever telling them who it was. Moffley's death finally brought attention to the drugs that were being sold around the CofC campus, and the FBI got involved. Soon, the ring's worst nightmare of a rat from within came true in multitudes, as the feds got some to flip on others and convince members to wear wires and do drug deals on hidden cameras. In 2016, they finally had enough evidence to make some arrests. And in June, after a 6-month investigation, they conducted a series of raids which yielded a huge haul of 734 grams of cocaine, 2,500 grams of marijuana, and although the official report said they found 43,000 Xanax pills,
Who counted all those?
someone's got to. That's what our tax dollars go to. One of the defense lawyers, though, actually says the number was closer to about 3 million Xanax pills that they had. Real ones, I think, not fake ones like Moffley had. In addition to this, they found a wide array of other drugs, hash, mushrooms, what have you, and 7 firearms, including a rifle with an attached like underbarrel grenade launcher.
Why? Why do you? This is what happens when you give frat boys drug money. They're like, let's launch a grenade.
To be fair, I think this is what happens when you give almost anyone drug money.
I'm not gonna launch a grenade.
I'm not gonna launch. You sound like an old lady. I'm not gonna launch a grenade. Why do I need a grenade launcher?
I don't need one.
I want a revolver. Classic.
Classy. I'm a classy broad, all right?
If you're gonna launch a grenade, do it with your own muscle.
Come on, you little bitch.
Like the good old days.
Yeah. Just make a Molotov cocktail.
Yeah, come on, man. It's free. Viva la resistance.
Yes.
9 people were arrested, all under the age of 27, like I mentioned, all white, and most from well-off families. Of these 9 arrested, only 2 actually served jail time. Rob Liljeburg was sentenced to 2 years, although he was still allowed to graduate from the College of Charleston. And according to his LinkedIn, he went on to get a Master's of Business Administration at Troy University.
Well, he had a lot of experience.
And is now an account executive at a healthcare company.
Now he has access to all the Xanax in the world.
Yep. For free and legal. So
Fantastic.
Nothing much happened to him. And Mikey Schmidt, who got slapped with a 10-year sentence, which he is still serving. Although he really wasn't the one who had the most drugs on him at the time of the raid. That honor went to a man known as Zach Kligman, who was known as the Charleston Kingpin to most, and was in possession of all of the Xanax pills and 12 pounds of weed.
12 pounds.
12 pounds. He got off with like time served at the end of he like did a plea deal and got off with time served.
Oh my God. What the heck?
And like a couple years of probation.
Oh my God. What a lucky guy.
Yeah, well, they all had pretty good lawyers.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
So-
they could afford good lawyers.
Exactly. Mikey instead got the largest sentence because while everyone else was able to rat on Mikey as their supplier, Mikey couldn't rat on Uncle because he was literally the fucking cartel and Mikey wanted to keep his head on his neck.
Yeah.
So he was like, yeah, I'm not gonna
Yeah,
tell you about my source.
Yeah, I wouldn't blame him.
Yeah, you will just die.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone else used their wealth to get good lawyers, like we said, and get off with just probation, time served, or a mix of both by the end of the trials. The only one involved who got a harsher sentence was, ironically, the only person of color involved in this whole thing, Charles Mungin, who was charged and convicted of the murder of Patrick Moffley later. There was a bunch of circumstantial evidence that linked him to the crime. There were like phone records showing that he was in the area. They found fake Xanax pills that matched the ones that were found on scene in his vehicle. Although there is solid evidence, like I said, that he was there. Not a lot of people believe he actually shot Moffley, though. They believe someone else was there and shot Moffley, but he never told them who it was. He never ratted them out. And in South Carolina, they have a law known as the hand of one, hand of all, that allows you to be convicted of a crime, even if you weren't the principal one who committed it.
That's so South Carolina.
Yeah.
That is so the South.
As long as you meet like a couple of requirements. Like you have to have been there at the time, you have to be knowingly involved, and whatever.
Yeah.
But yes, so he got arrested and convicted, and he was actually sentenced to life plus an additional 30 years tacked on for good measure for what I'm pretty sure was first degree murder.
Whoa. Like if he actually did it, okay, but if he didn't, oh man.
Yeah, he was there and he just never said who it was. Maybe if he said who it was, he could have got out with something lighter, but
Yeah.
here we are. Heck, it could have been one of those other 9 people
Right.
that ended up serving almost no jail time.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking it was probably somebody within who shot him because they were worried that he was going to rat.
Yeah. That and, yeah, I don't know. He also had all those fake Xanax pills, too. So it is kind of like someone got there, were like, you're trying to sell me fake shit. And then
Yeah.
fight ensues. Bang, bang.
I mean, that happened. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. But a large theme of this story that comes out over and over again as people discuss it is privilege. The people who ran the drug ring did so because they were afforded the privilege to based on their socioeconomic background. The average college student who is drowning in debt, trying to get a degree to dig themselves out of a hole that they were placed into at birth, is going to be diligently studying with their head in a book. Because failure simply just is not an option. When someone else pays your tuition and you know that you don't have to get good grades because you have an uncle that works at Deloitte and can hand you an internship and a job on a platter after you graduate with a 2.8 GPA, you find other ways to occupy your time. And it can become a very like na boo boo moment, right? It's like, look what I can do that you can't, even as an adult. I can spend 5 days in a row high out of my mind and skipping class. And in the end, I still come out on top. I still get the better jobs because I have friends in high places. And the worst part is that they were right. Almost everyone in this case got off with just a slap on the wrist. And when the news was released to the public, they said it was a highly organized operation, but it wasn't believed to be affiliated with gangs. So my question is, what exactly constitutes a gang then? Right? This was an organization run with drugs, violence, and partying that caused the direct death of one individual, and who knows how many others were hurt from the wares that they peddled, from all this Xanax that they were pushing out. You know, people die from that. So you don't think it was gang affiliated, huh? Well, maybe the people just don't look like the people that you think would be in gangs. So,
Mic drop.
So that's it for today. The quick run through. So thank you for listening. If you want a more in-depth story, replete with all of the side stories and firsthand accounts. Please check out the book Among the Bros. I know it's definitely on my list because
that would be a really interesting read.
This was interesting. It's also not too long. I just couldn't fit it in time, unfortunately.
You're just not too long. You just couldn't fit it in.
Shut up. Stop it. Stop embarrassing me. I told you not to do this anymore. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. If you liked what you heard and you want us to keep going and not have to get a Xanax prescription ourselves, because only do it with a prescription, and even then, I don't know. I don't know. Well,
if you really need it, all right.
Yeah, if you want us to not have to get on Xanax, then please leave a review.
Fun fact, I can't take Xanax because it has corn oil as the base.
Oh, nice.
And I'm allergic to corn.
Nice. That's the only reason that Nina's not a zany junkie.
Yeah.
She's not doing QB sneaks on the reg.
Nah.
If you like to, leave a review. You can write a review with your precious words on Apple Podcasts. Or you can just leave a 5 out of 5 star, please, on Spotify or Apple. If you're not on those, one, look at you being a little hipster. You're on a weird ass lit. You're on like pod topping. Congratulations. Look at you being so unique. Well, you can probably subscribe, like, favorite, something on there. So why don't you do that instead? That would help us out. And 100% free. Also free, telling a friend, huh? Everyone listens to podcasts nowadays. I listen to podcasts. You obviously listen to podcasts. Nina even, I think, might listen to a couple podcasts on the Kardashians, which is cool for her.
I do.
So everyone's always looking for new ones. Recommend this, and that would help us out. You want to help us out by giving us money? Okay, you don't have to tell me twice. You can go over to our website, whitecollarsredhands.com. Click the button that says check out our merch, and you can buy something. You get something out of the deal. We get something out of the deal. You know, it's a quid pro quo. We're not just begging for it. Okay.
Listen, Mother's Day's coming up. Get a gift for mom.
Get mom a mug. And while you're over there on our website, why don't you go ahead, drop us a line. You can connect with us there. If you just want to send the email directly, they go to the same place, but you can send that to whitecollarsredhands@gmail.com, or you can DM us and follow us on any one of our social medias, facebook.com/whitecollarsredhands, Twitter or X @whitecollarspod, Instagram @whitecollars_redhands, and TikTok at, you guessed it, it's whitecollarsredhands. Is there something else? Oh, if you want to suggest, this was a fan-submitted episode. Yeah, once again, Katie, thank you. If you want to be a fan-submitted episode, we do one every season. So why don't you go ahead and send that over to us. If you have a topic that you think would be interesting for us to cover, we'd love to learn more about it and love to spread the knowledge of it to our tens of listeners.
We have a couple hundred.
More than tens. More than tens. We thank you. We love you.
We do.
And we'd love to see our little family here grow.
We would.
So yeah, I think with that, that's going to be where I call it. Thank you guys so much for listening. We'll see you next week on another episode of White Collars,
Red Hands.